Hello again, you delightful Godot people. In this video, we're going to add more food. In fact, we're going to add some food. We're going to turn that lovely little projectile we made, I'm just going to fire that up so we can see it, this lovely little golf ball thing, ping pong ball, whatever this is, into random food. And to do that, the first thing we're going to do is make some food. So, if we look over in this scenes folder, under ammo, under models, you'll see a bunch of meshes with materials. Some of them don't seem to be there. These are all from Quaternius. They're quite fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the projectile scene and I'm going to inherit from it and make new ammunition. So let's see how that looks. I'm going to go to new inherited scene, find my original, which is under projectiles. There it is. And here we go. We have a half-meter sphere. So I'm going to take this mesh. I'm going to load in the one we want. The other way we could do this is to go to the ammo scenes and just drag the mesh in. Now some of these will need resizing. Some of them will be roughly the right size. So where's our collision? Our collision is there. That's a little bit big, isn't it? So I want to go to transform, making sure I've got the mesh instant selected. And I might scale this down to 0.75 on all the axes. And that fits just about inside. I don't mind if it's not perfect. It can be moving quite fast. But what I do want to do is give it a new name. And I'm going to save this scene. So save as. It's going to go in projectiles. Let's make a brand new folder. I'm going to call this food types, like so. And that's burger, and that's good. And then what I'm going to do is rush through them all. Now they have their own materials here. So let's take the next mesh, which I can see is cookie. See if I can get that to fit more or less. So down to scale, let's say 0.25. It says 0.25. That's actually 0.5. Still a bit big. Let's try 0.4. 0.4 looks good. I'm going to call you cookie. And then I'm going to save as cookie.tscn. And I'm just going to go through them quickly like that. So I could fast forward this. I feel like it's probably more useful just to quickly do it. So you can see there's my cupcake. My cupcake, I'm going to take the mesh, not the root, and just move the mesh down so it fits. Let's take you off here. Take snap off, and that actually fits perfectly. We could probably make it 0.5 just because it's a nice round number. And there's my cupcake. Let's call you cupcake. And same again. So save as into the same scene with its own unique name. Save scene as cupcake.tscn. How many more have we got? We've got donut, we've got hot dog, we've got ice cream, we've got milkshake, we've got soda. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a nice little clock wipe, and when you come back, I'll show you that I've got all of them saved. And welcome back. I'm just saving the last one as soda. I've also just realized I've made this one a hot dog, but that's fine. And so now if we go over and look at these scenes under projectiles, under food types, we have a bunch of different scenes. So what I want to do is change the fire script in character to pick one of these randomly. And to do that, I'm going to make a new scene. This is a scene I make in a lot of my projects. I find it very handy. I call it File Grabber. Make it a script, make a brand new script, and I'm going to call this File Grabber. You know what, I'm going to put an underscore in there, filegrabber.gd. I probably shouldn't put it in this path. Let's make a separate folder. What should we call this? How about new folder, utility? Seems like a good place to put it. And we'll call this File Grabber and get the cat to stop rubbing against my face during a heat wave. Thank you, cat. Hot furry coat on my face. Yay. Okay, so what is this File Grabber? This is going to be a way to say, go to a directory. I'm going to give you a path to a directory, pull everything in there and return it. Why do I want to do that? Well, I can use that to easily add and remove food from the game. Anything that is in that directory can be added. So if I want to add more assets or remove stuff I don't like, it will change it at runtime. So the moment the game runs, it'll just say, what's in this directory? That's in there. So it's a nice, easy way to develop the game. So the first thing I need to do is make a function, and this function is going to be called getFiles. And we've used something a bit like this, haven't we? Yeah, way back in the way back when we were playing with Looney Lips. And we're going to take an argument, which is going to be our folder. Before we go any further, let's just put pass and save that scene. I'm going to go to project settings. I'm going to go to auto load. I'm going to go find it. So let's find... it's under utility, it's called File Grabber, add it as a singleton. So this is now accessible anywhere in the game. Okay, so we have our get files, and the first thing we need to do is create a dictionary. I'm going to call this gathered files. Now this will work for any type of file. In this case, we're going to be using scenes, but you could use it for text, you could use it for audio, you could use it for whatever you want. We also need to keep track of which file we're looking at. So for that, I'm going to use a file count. I'm going to set that as 0. Now let's create a variable called dir, and that's going to be our directory with a capital D dot new. So we're going to access the file functions, or the directory class. Okay, what do we need to do? Well, remember, if you need to look up what this does, just hold Control and left click on it. There's your documentation. But we want, you know what, I'm going to give this a little bit of space, directory.open. It's going to say, what do you want to open? Whatever I've asked you to open. Great. Then I want you to start listing it from the beginning. And to do that, I want list directory beginning. And I don't need to put any arguments in there. Okay, so we're going to keep doing this while there's something to check. And I'm going to use a while true. Now, we need to be very careful using while with true, because if we never change that true condition, this will just keep running forever and crash our game. So let's make a variable for the file, and that's going to be whatever's next in the directory. So directory.getNext. Okay, if there is no next file, so if the file is an empty string, we're going to break this while function. We have to put that in there. Now that's a double equals, isn't it? Because I'm not setting it, I'm checking it. Okay, so if there is no next file, stop this loop, go on to the next code block. Otherwise, we'll go to elif, and what I want to do is check that we're not bringing in anything with a dot import. So I'm going to go if not file dot begins with the dot. So if I go and look at this, I'm just going to go open a file manager and drag that window across. Anything that we import in, so if I use this for audio, will have a dot import. These are scenes, they don't, but if we had audio files and so on, that's where they would go. So I'm going to just go, if it doesn't begin with an empty string, if it doesn't begin with just a file extension, then gathered files, and then whichever file we're on, and that's going to be equal to the folder, and we're going to concatenate it in the file, which will give us the path. Then we're going to increment the file count. So file count plus equals 1. Finally, we need to return the directory, but we don't want to do it within this loop. So come out of this indentation. This is really important. Otherwise, this will go completely wrong. We need to return a value, which is going to be the gathered files. And I'm going to save that. That is my file grabber. We can use it for all kinds of stuff. Let's close you. We can use it for all kinds of stuff. But in this instance, we're just going to use it to get these scenes. In order to use it to get these scenes, let's go into our character scene. Easiest way to do that is to go into my 3D view on the main level, open the player, and open the character. So I have the player and the character, and we want the character scene. Right now, we have this, right? Open the projectile template. Wow, I can really type, can't I? Well, we're going to change that anyway, so don't worry too much about it. But the first thing I need to do is create a new variable. And this is going to be a dictionary of food types. So food types equals empty dictionary. All right, let's put in a ready function to populate that dictionary. So function ready food types equals, now we've used this as a singleton, so we can access it here, file grabber dot get files, and we need to bring an argument in, and that's going to be the folder that we're keeping all those files in. So I'm just going to go back here. Because this is a folder, I can't just drag it in, so I'm going to right click on it and go copy path, and there it is. This needs to be a string path, so I'm going to put it in quotes. And that's good to go. Now I want to pick these randomly, so I have to call the randomize function. Great. All right, now we need to update this line here. So first I'm going to make a variable called random food equals food types, and this is going to be a random integer, and we're going to modulo the food types dictionary dot size. Now, instead of learning the template, or rather, instead of loading the template, we're going to load the random food as an instance. Before we go any further, just realize this size here, I've written that as if it's a property It's actually a function, so let's put the brackets in. So it should be the food types, and then we want which entry in that food types. Well, we want a random integer that's moduloed by the size, so the moment you get to the end of the list, just cycle back, so we never go beyond the amount we have. And then we're going to load that in as an instance. So that should be everything. Let's find out. Look at that. Now, you'll notice some of these will go through the wall, which I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my projectile scene, which is this one right here. And I'm going to click on the rigid body and make sure I've got continuous detection off. Continuous detection, if I mouse over it, this is great for fast moving objects, which our food is. So if I go back in, the food stays in and after 5 seconds disappears. Very nice. Now, I like the food disappearing, so I don't clog up the game. You might not. One more thing we could do, we could give it a sound effect. So, under projectile template, I am going to add in a audio stream player, 3D. And I'm going to bring in a sound effect. Now, I've got a generated sound effect here called Explosion 2. I'm just going to make sure, if I go over to the import, it is not looping. If it is looping, take off loop and re-import it. This is important. Let's just see what that sounds like. It's white noise. So what I want to do is I'm going to bring that in as the stream. And we can probably turn down the maximum volume, and I think we could raise the pitch a little bit. So let's see how that sounds. That's a bit better. This is going to autoplay. And let's go to Doppler and the tracking. We want physics. Now, in order for this to work, I'm going to go back to my level. I'm going to get to the camera, which is actually under player, not level. So back to the player, get to the camera, and under Doppler tracking, I want physics. And the reason I'm doing this is that whooshing noise will now have Doppler physics enabled, or Doppler effect enabled. So if I press play, you can hear the sound change depending where the object is. And I'm really happy with that. Look at that. We now have really colorful food in our scene. And I think that is an excellent place to stop this video. So, excellent work, and I will see you in the next one.